All right, welcome to the Smeggie Cave. How's everyone doing there today? Hopefully good. I'm doing pretty good. Just getting set up outside with my doggies. Start playing with toys. And hopefully get some people jump in, want to join me, or at least talk along in the comments. So I actually need some help. And let's see, let's get this camera on here. There we go. That's what people like to see. My doggy. The other one's not as exciting. He's just sniffing the ground. Looking for mice. He got another one last night. So I think he's up to 4 or 5 total. So, anyways, yeah. So I see G-Webs was out there, and I'm not sure if you're still out there. He called me fake news, whatever. Then maybe he ran away. Hopefully he's listening. And other people are listening also. So hit me up in the comments if you are listening to me. So, anyways, topic I have for today, and I called this the bug out bag. You wearing a No, I'm wearing a towel because you see this thing gets really dirty, and then the dog drops it on my legs, and if I don't wear that, then my pants get really dirty. See, look how clean that side of the towel is. And then how dirty this side of the towel is. I know people have suggested, what, are you cold out there? No, I'm not cold. It's quite warm today. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about is kind of bug out bag, but not technically. So here's the thing. The other day, my girl wanted some bug spray. She was going to go just buy some. And I said, well, hey, I know I have a little pump spray thing and with like my camping stuff, or I know I have some in my range. I have like a bunch of different ones stashed all over the place. So I was like, I'll go get it. And I went downstairs and started digging through like my hiking backpack kind of thing and realized it's not set up that good. I bought a new one recently and didn't really fill it with stuff. Right, stay home is better than bug out. I kind of agree with that. So that is why this is only kind of bug out. So I'm not talking about zombies. I'm not talking about shit hit the fan, any of that kind of stuff. Now, I have what you could consider kind of like a bug out bag, but what I'm most likely going to be using it for is going hiking with these furry guys. So same kind of thing. You need some of the same stuff, but I'm not as worried about like the apocalypse. So where I was hoping to get some insight from the viewers and panelists, if they decide to jump in, would be suggestions on actual real world stuff that you probably need if you're going to go out for, let's say, a day hike, and then something happens where maybe you get a little turned around and you can't get, you get off the trail or something, you can't get back to the parking lot before nightfall. Maybe you end up spending a night out there. And, I'm not talking super like Appalachian Mountains type hiking either. So, I guess I'm trying to categorize it. I understand you never know what's going to happen. But does that mean, oh, I have a guest. Excellent. Let's let him in. Add to stream. Okay, how's it going, man?
That's fun. So you're just talking like eventualities or possibilities type of thing if you're hiking.
Exactly. So it's kind of bug out bag type stuff, but what are like real world stuff? I'm not trying to do zombie apocalypse type stuff. So because it's one of those things. You could say, well, I'm going to pack a month's worth of food and this and that. Because what if I fall down a river and I go to? Okay, great. But that's probably not going to happen. So instead of spending all the money and carrying all that weight, what do I really, really need versus what's kind of like fantasy realm? And then, of course, if I'll go out and then something really, really bad is going to happen, I'll be pissed that I didn't bring, a month's worth of food or whatever.
So there's no one size fits all. So first off, it's You give a doctor a different kit than you give a paramedic, a different kit than you give a Boy Scout, a different kit than you give someone who's never even thought about first aid before, right? So, with that in mind, I would say you can look at it like uh, you could write down on a piece of paper in your mind or whatever things that you've experienced, like this has happened to me before. So, like, let's say you're a diabetic with a bad foot, you're different than high school gymnast or gymnastic, person or ballet dancer who, you know, is in perfect physical shape or something and is more worried about missing an appointment than somebody who's more worried about their kids. And right. So everybody's got a different set of parameters and stuff. So I'd say figure out whatever's happened to you that's unique and put that on your list. Because again, if you I lost my glasses and I found out I can't see and I don't know what direction it is, or without my hearing aid, I don't know what time of day, I don't know, whatever weird thing or unique thing, I shouldn't say weird, but whatever unique thing a person has, that's the first thing. Then you could go to the things that just mammals have, because you got other mammals you're dealing with. So that's like first aid, water, food, shelter, right? So I would look at it in priorities. Like, what do you, like you're just saying that you're not saying this is for everything. This is just for like worst case, I get stuck somewhere. In that case, do I need to bring water or can I find water? Like, do I need to bring shelter or can I improvise shelter? Do I need to worry about food or do I just need to gather food or something like that? And then on the other hand, you can bring like a bag of M&Ms or two, and that's enough to stay alive for 3 days. You're not going to be running around happy, but you're not going to die either. Where water, you need a gallon of water, period. Like, you're never going to figure out some way to not need water. So I'd say you starting with a Camelback, or are you starting with no water, or you're starting with water's already a given?
So I don't have a Camelback, but I have a couple of canteens. So, and then again, this is like I'm planning on hiking. So imagine a couple of canteens with water, and then I don't know, maybe like a water bottle or something. So the idea is I'd pack for a little bit, and hopefully I can find some if I need it for more than if I'm planning to be out there for the afternoon, end up being there longer. Obviously, I need water for the puppies. So
right, exactly. So do they carry backpacks?
That would be cool.
Do they carry their own water, in other words?
I don't have something for them to do that, but that's definitely a good idea.
Just a FYI, every dog I've ever put a backpack on gets all mad when you take it off. It's like their collar, and except that it's also their own backpack and they love it. And it also means that when it goes on, they're going hiking. So it's like going in the car. Every dog I've ever given a backpack to, which is 2 or 3 or 4, I guess, they all love it a lot. I haven't given a backpack to this dog because she's so furry. I figured she wouldn't like it, but I also haven't tried. I could put it on her and it would fit her probably, and I'll bet you she'd probably dig it. But anyway, dogs can carry a lot. So they can always carry their own food and water, and probably extra water for you. Even the smallest dog.
Yeah.
Your dogs are pack animals. Your dogs could literally carry everything for both of you. Literally, and not even care. And their own stuff. Like, you got plenty of big enough dogs to carry anything.
Right. Yeah, and
if you got a cart, holy moly, you could definitely have a whole nother situation if you had your dogs carrying a cart. You could get on the cart, I bet.
Well, I know that the Huskies love pulling, and it's in their DNA to just run and run and run. So I remember when I had my other dogs, I'd put the rollerblades on and just had we got like an actual harness, like as if it was a sled dog, and I would barely even have them like pull me. Most of the time I'd be going under my own power. But when I just like stopped moving and just pulled back on the leash, they took off. Like, they dug in and they loved it.
Yeah, like they knew the deal. So I guess basically though, if you're carrying water for them 2 big dogs, then there's no way you could carry enough water. Both of you could carry way more water than you need and still not have enough for them big dogs. So I would say whatever you're thinking about with water, put a Camelback on and then bring the water you're thinking. Because I would want to have, in an emergency, people don't think about washing your hands, washing a cut off, washing your eyes off because you're sweaty. You just fell down into some muck and now you've got bleeding and it's all gross. So you're trying to wash that out, right? That's what people don't think about. They think about like, oh, I don't need a drink of water if I'm busy. I can just drink, I don't have to guzzle water. I can just get my mouth wet. But you're going to be using water for other situations. So I don't think you could ever bring enough water. And I live in the desert, so there's no possible way you're ever going to tell me. The only way you could possibly not have to worry about water is if there's snow, and we don't have that. So I would say more water than you're already thinking, and put water on the dogs so that you got extra water on top of that. But then you get to the part where you were saying that, if you're out there for any length of time, it's ridiculous. It's not realistic to think you can bring enough water. But if you've got enough containers, now you're back in business, because now you can bring a filter if you're really worried about it. Or
Yeah.
if you are somewhere where you can get clean water and you can improvise filters, or you can boil or something, as long as you got enough containers to have like a container for the collected water and then another container for the purified water that you make, then you're fine. So definitely multiple containers, at least one or two disposable containers, at least one something like a Camelback where you can put, just leave it clean and that's your water to drink and you for the dogs, that kind of thing. But then anyway, so aside from water, I would say, some amount of like a beef jerky type of, because you eat meat, right? Or do you not eat meat?
Yeah.
I would say some kind of like beef jerky thing that isn't beef jerky, because that's old fashioned BS. Like nobody actually sat around eating that much salt and lived through it, I don't think. So I would bring some sort of a meat that's just a meat, like a tuna or something that isn't completely insanely salty, because that's working against you if you're out needing water. But something with meat, or something high protein, nuts or something that the dogs would eat though, right? So I'm saying not your like normal store package of like I'm not trying to say beef jerky or something, but like some sort of snooty expensive, like those ones that are called, what the hell are they called? Those ones really thick ones that are made out of elk and stuff that you get at like the hiking store. Those are more like just a slice of steak in a container that's vacuum packed, and it's only spicy to make it palatable. It's not like, oh, this is garbage food and we can make it spicy so that people will still eat it, and they'll eat it because it was cheap and it's in front of them at a gas station where they want something salty. Like not that. I'm talking like actual protein in a bar, or a kind bar, or whatever those things are called, where they're like 3 ingredients. That's what I would get. Nothing meat in it. I'd get something that's like nuts and maybe a fruit to give it some complex nutrition, and then like just dense nutrition, right? And those things often will last for like 6 or 8 months. So you can put them in there because they're made for camping and hiking and stuff. They're made with like decent packaging that can handle, being abused a bit, put in a backpack and rolled around and whatever. So I'd say, whatever you're going to have with you for the day is like water and snacks. But then this is like the extra snacks that aren't necessarily snacks as much as like if we get stuck somewhere, this is so that we can eat during the night. And then a candy bar or two, because just even being somewhere, 1 candy bar is for suckers, 2 or 3 is for regular people. That way you can go somewhere, and if the thing hits you, you can be like, wait a minute, I got a candy bar in the bag, and then you can like actually eat a candy bar because you enjoy it and not because you're dying or whatever. And since you're already packing that kind of deep in the bag anyway, so it's not just there, I think that's probably worth having. That's food and water. Were you thinking that kind of stuff, or are you thinking more like kit?
No, I'm thinking that kind of stuff plus anything else. So just to kind of run down the list of what I have now, and I will admit it's not much. A lot of my camping stuff that would also, double as being cool for going on a trip, like survivalist kind of things or whatever. I didn't bring it with me because I'm an idiot. So with the water, I have a couple containers worth of water, and I do have a life straw. So what you were saying, right? If you can find a source of water, fill up all the containers, and then you can drink with the life straw, like at the river, and then later in the day you can drink through the straw, like out
In
of
the
the container.
Yeah, in the shade at your convenience, or like at your pace, and not when you find the water, and then yeah, exactly.
Right. And the containers have a nice big opening that the straw will fit down into. So I could literally just drink out of that. So that part's okay as long as I can find some water. I
And you
really
can
love the idea
easily
of putting packs on the dogs. I didn't even think of that. We have harnesses for them, and just like what you said, they love when the harness is on because they know they're going for a walk. Now just
yeah.
imagine a couple saddlebags on the side of the harness. You're good to go. I'm
And the
sure they would.
one you seen the one I had for Oro, it was a harness and then like a Velcro snappy thing would put the saddlebags on, so you could put just the harness on or the whole kabang on, and that way I could walk them with it like a regular harness, and it was also the kind of harness you could pick them up like a suitcase if you had to, which is handy on the trail. And
I
then
like having the handles on the back.
yeah, and then this thing just the what do they call the two saddlebags basically snapped on. So anyway, yeah, it was and they're you can pay little for that or you could pay a lot because there's a lot of companies that make that stuff now. A lot of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that for sure. Because like I especially the removable bag part. Because then you take them on the normal walk with the harness, so they already know what that's like, and they already know this is fun and this is cool. And then just every once in a while, it's a little heavier than it used to be, and it gives them.
And they don't care at all. And you're breaking in that harness, so it's like their harness. It's not like, oh, I use this harness sometimes and that harness, and neither one of them is broke in. This way, that harness gets broke in, and they're used to it.
Yeah. So that's you've already helped me tremendously. That's something I'm gonna do. Okay, so what else do I already have?
What about like lights and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, obviously, I would whatever I have on my EDC. I got a knife and a flashlight on me all the time, anyways. In the bag, I have an extra knife and an extra flashlight, and as well as these are some pretty cool things. Maybe I should go get the bag. It might be kind of fun. Get some of the other people to see. But these things are like blow up, like inflatable lanterns. They're like a little cube.
Yeah, they're beach balls, except they have an LED on them. So once you blow it up, the LED bounces around the beach ball and becomes like a glowing orb.
Right. Yeah. It's like a cube. But okay. So, I turned my camera off when I went inside.
Yeah, those things are pretty handy. And if you fill them with helium, you can send them up into the air, and then an airplane could find you. All you gotta do is bring a tank of helium.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is the most important part of the pack. The glow in the dark, every second matters. So if it's nighttime, people might see some green, and it's a signaling device. Then this thing, it doesn't hold much, but it's like a half water, half food. And then they got these little.
Oh, you mean for the dog or whatever? That's for the dogs?
Oh. For the dog. So one of the things that we give them sometimes for the food is like this dehydrated stuff. And you just take a cup of that and a cup of water, mix it up, and it's like a full bowl's worth of food for them. So if this thing was filled with the dehydrated on the half and the water on the other half, this is like just to make food, and I could probably make 2-3 meals out of it. Like you said, they might not also be super happy, but this little guy keeps catching rats, so he could probably eat for himself. He just caught another one last night. But anyway, so that's their food. And then I don't remember what pouch I put all these in. So life straw, cool. Some waterproof matches. And I realized actually I am out of like the little cheapo Bic lighters. So I just ordered a bunch of those off Amazon. Because as cool as it is to have flint strikers and all sorts of cool, crazy fire making stuff, why work harder if you don't have to? So anyway, so this is that light. It folds up this small, and it actually has a solar panel. And then, yeah, you just blow it up like a beach ball.
The trick is to try to remember, if you can, just put that like in an outside pouch or pocket, or sometimes they got like webbing things, because you want to ideally leave that out in the sun all the time, like while you're hiking and that.
That's a good point. So it does have like this little handle. Maybe I can around this.
You don't have like one of the little net pockets or something? Sometimes these packs will have like a little net area or something.
No, this one doesn't.
I'm not a big fan of the dangly, hangy stuff, especially when you're talking like trees and plants that are more than happy to catch on everything you got dangling. But anyway, yeah, you get the point.
But if it's tied up around, like right up here,
yeah.
That's another good suggestion. See, this
You
is
know
why I
what you
like
can
talking
do?
out loud with you.
So, okay, go back to your pack, and on that main pouch part where you got most of the what do you call, like, grid of pals. What I'll do is like, first off, I don't know what you got that middle strap. Is that like just to tie it up so it's not loose?
Um, you can like, I guess it clips onto that to like squish it down or something.
Yeah, it's just a compression strap. So ignoring that, you've got your pals like grid there. So if you kind of go up one end and then back down, imagine weaving like a set. I don't know if you've seen it on my pack, but I'll take a piece of shock cord, which is basically elastic 550, rugged
Mhm.
elastic cord, and I'll start on somewhere and I'll go up one row and then back down and then up and down. And then
So you
what'll
go
happen is
this
kind of
one.
weave in and out as I go up and down, and I just kind of create a bunch of loops of elastic, and then I can cram a wind waker in there. I create like a net basically of just loops of,
Okay,
of
I see what you're saying.
shot
Yeah.
cord. I may have had videos where I cram like a raincoat or something in there, and that might be a way to cram that what do you call that, solar panel thingy. It might not be like if you fell down or something, it'd probably fall out. But if somebody's walking with you, they might be like, "Hey, that thing fell out. Let's move it," or something. But more than
Well,
likely, if you've got that the right tension, it'll just hold it right on there.
I could do that, and it's clear, but there's a handle of plastic.
Yeah.
I
Or
could
maybe
put it
even like a little carabiner or something. Because I
and
don't
put
like
some.
unloop. I just tie that permanently onto my molly, and then I just kind of jam things into the loops. I don't like untie the 550 ever or the
Well,
strap.
yeah, I could jam this into the loop, but then put a clip around the loop. So that's another
Oh yeah,
thing
yeah.
that
You got those things. Yeah, that's
very
plenty.
that is overlooked a lot. I love safety pins.
Mm-hmm.
Put a bunch of safety pins. You never know when you need them. I keep those in my work pants because sometimes there's literally been times I've been at work and like my belt loop broke because it got snagged on the side of a pump or whatever, and I take a big heavy duty safety pin and like hold my pants together. So it's that I could just take one of these, put it through here, attach it. I'm good to go. So, anyways, then this is something where I'm still lacking. I just started getting this together. So this is some compression bandage, good for the pups, good for people.
Did you buy yellow for a reason?
Well, I had a multicolored. I decided to grab the yellow one because I figure if I need to use this and because I'm injured in the woods, if I need to wave let's say I break my finger or something, I got this wrapped around my finger. Then when I wave at the forest ranger to come help me, you might see me a little better.
Yeah, well, I mean, having yellow is nice for that. You can leave little pieces of that as a trail, like to indicate where you've been or where you're going or something. If you don't know where you are, you can start leaving breadcrumbs or something like that. Reason I
Yep.
ask though also is because that stuff can be expensive if you buy it for humans, but if you go to a place that sells stuff for like horses and ranch and stuff, you can buy that stuff to wrap up a horse leg, and it's usually in colors because half the time they're wrapping up a horse leg for some reason, like for a show or something, so they want it in a specific color, like for a team or something or a parade or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, you can buy that stuff for pennies on the dollar for horses, and it's the same ace bandage as it is for everybody else, but usually bigger and multiple colors right away for all the reasons we just said.
Yeah. Like I said, I got this for the dog because he's still licking his leg. You see, he's got a dark blue, kind of grayish one on today. But yeah, I like that it's rubbery. You can get compression out of it. So yeah, it came in multicolors, and I decided to grab the yellow one for this pack. So the other part, I have a couple of like med kits, first aid kits, and stuff. But I don't like the prepackaged ones because it's like I don't know what all the stuff's in there, and maybe I could just grab it and toss it in here. But anyways, I started collecting just a couple band-aids, Neosporin. This definitely is nowhere near ready. I just started I got some Benadryl in there because I'm allergic to everything. So this will eventually be better. I may even put it in a different pack. I have a nice, like, bright orange pack that's a med kit. Maybe I'll take half the stuff out of that, put some of this into there.
You
I don't
got
know.
your issues with your disease, with your being, you insist on being allergic to everything. So I would probably have multiple, that stuff staged multiple places in case you get separated from your pack and then you insist on being allergic to something again. Uh, but I think that having it in a
I carry them in my blue jeans everywhere I go. And if I'm
right,
wearing a coat, they're in the inside pocket of my coat. I got some in my car. I got some in my work bag. I got some right here. Yeah,
yeah,
I do stage those everywhere because I don't
you
feel like
know,
dying.
yeah, exactly. It's super inconvenient, especially if you got other things to do. So I'm a fan of having a first aid kit in a little bag like that because I'm also not a fan of buying the pre-made kits unless the pre-made kit is made by somebody who's legit. Then it usually has worthwhile stuff in it. But most of the time, the kits are fake. They don't know what they're doing, and they just buy whatever's cheap and looks good in a picture. But having it in a baggie like that with stuff that you put in there because you either back to the original thing, something that you've encountered that you have a situation with, that's what's the most important. So if you've got stuff that you need, it's in that bag, and then stuff that you figure you're going to need in that bag. If it's in that bag, you're going to open up that bag and use it. You know what I mean? Like you're not thinking, oh, how many Benadryls do I got left? You're thinking, I need a Benadryl, and you go to that bag and get it. When people open up a first aid kit that they paid $60 for at the store, and they're walking along, they're like, oh, my foot hurts. That first aid kit has cost $60 and it's all fancy, and I got to open it up and ruin it. I'll just have the bad blister. You know what I mean? And then they come home with the freaking $60 first aid kit that's never been used.
Exactly. So you just made me think. So I have this other, again, every second matters. Most important. I went with Hunter Orange for this one. Glow in the dark on black, Hunter Orange for this one. This is much more of like, it's much smaller. And I have used this before. That's where my, canteen is. But, I've used that for, okay, we're going out for a couple hours. Throw some snacks in this one. You got the thing of water. And it's got the same kind of stuff, like emergency things. Anyways, that came with this, like, emergency survival first aid kit thing. Got a little whistle with a little compass and stuff. And then this is, you can open this up and put like some matches in there or whatever. But yeah, it's like you go into this thing and like, I don't know what's all in here. I'd have to, let's say I cut my finger off. I'm going to be going through this, trying to figure out which one of these packages. Oh, this is gauze. And, oh, that's not adhesive. Okay, maybe this one. No, screw that. I want to know where my stuff is. So I may just take some of the stuff out of here. I mean, it seems like it's got, there's like some bags, looks like a little notebook, a pencil, and which is also, I mean, people overthink that one. It's nice to be able to take notes. Or
I feel like you bought a kit that is supposed to be used in an office, I think.
Well, it says Yukon Outfitters, but honestly, I wanted like this size bag, and it came with this little med kit thing. So it was more. I thought this bag was a perfect little. It's good for a couple hour hike. I can toss some water in there and so a couple of sandwich or something. And then they decided to make it a survival thing. But yeah, I'm not super impressed with anything that's in here.
So how much was that kit? Or you said it came with that bag? So how much was the bag?
Oh, I can't think it was much. Maybe $20 or something. I mean, I'm not expecting a lot.
Oh, the whole bag with the first aid kit was $20?
Probably something like that. I mean, I think I just found it on Amazon. So,
wow, that's super cheap. I think Barbecue just did a thing of like inexpensive, like $13 first aid kit, and they're $13. But for what was in it, it was definitely more than $13 worth of stuff, and it was a selection of stuff that, in certain circumstances, you'd be like, this is worth a lot more than $13 to me right now because it's clean and it's doing what it needs to do, right? But at the same time, it isn't, what you put in a hospital or something. But anyway, so that one there, what I'd recommend on that orange first aid kit that you got, they can be garbage, but they can also be like 90% of what would be in a hospital. Just, they're not buying the most expensive or rugged stuff. So the only thing I'd ever recommend, or the thing I would recommend with all first aid kits, especially if you're a content creator, but even if you're not, especially, well, for anybody, is to once you buy it and once you own it or whatever, open it up and look at it and do exactly what you said, just at your own pace and when there's no stress, right? What is this? I don't know what this is. And then if it's worth it, go figure out what it is. Because you basically have, I mean, sometimes they come with a kit or, I mean, instructions or something that'll tell you what it is. But most of the time, I mean, what could possibly be in a first aid kit that someone doesn't know what it is? Like maybe a CPR shield or, whatever it might be, the chest seal. That's a weird one. Nobody hardly knows what that is. But, even if oh, okay, this is for some sort of weird, rare situation where I have a puncture of the lung cavity. Like, okay, I know that doesn't happen very often, and it has nothing to do with my foot, so I know that this thing is probably for a breathing situation. So, if nothing else, you just know what, in a bleeding situation, what you can ignore in that kit. That makes sense. But I think that's the best thing you can do with the kit is just go through it, kind of get an idea of what's in there. And they may have packed it based on what looks good in the store, or they may have packed it based on alphabetically. Who knows how they packed it? And there's no law. So if you unpack that kit and look at everything, you got all the right in the world to put it back together in a way that you think is going to be a priority for you. Like, I don't want the scissors out front. I've never used scissors in a kit, but they put the scissors in front. You're allowed to put them in the back or stuff.
Well, and I do know this since this is like a medical and survival thing. I do know that these little I keep clicking on his comment, says yo. He hasn't said anything. Anyways, these little like hand saws thing, they just fucking break after 2 seconds. So I already know this is going in the garbage.
Oh no, hold on. So FYI, just as an aside on that, I've seen those saws that are so rugged and awesome before, and I mean, it's a piece of metal, and it's all about where they source the stuff. I was just going to say, like, that one looks like it has leaders, so they swivel, and it looks like the finger things are actually useful, not just key rings. That one has a little bit more thought in it to some. I mean, I don't know nothing about it, but it looks decent to me. Here's the thing, though. Definitely try those, because even though some of them are, and we're talking about a little wire saw, which is basically a coping saw blade that somebody has attached key ring swivel or fishing swivels to the end and then some key rings so that you can use it as a 2-finger saw. Those things are, yes, they're very fragile and they're very delicate, but they are like some of the most effective, wicked, awesome saws. And think about it. Most people just wrap it around too big of a limb and yank on it like it's a chainsaw blade, because there are some that are literally chainsaw blades. But when you have a coping saw blade, you can make anything that a coping saw can make. Anything. Think about all the wood crafts you've seen an old man make when he's bored and he's a grandpa. You could make any of that stuff in the woods out of round or flat stock. If you don't have flat stock, you can make flat stock. Think about taking that saw and putting it on a limb so that it becomes a big saw under tension, like a hacksaw, as opposed to a saw that you're using your arms. Have you ever seen anybody use it with a limb?
So you put something through there, and that's...
In other words, you take a piece of wood that's about the size of a bow and arrow, and you make it look like a bow and arrow, except that you're using it like a hacksaw instead of a bow and arrow, right?
Yeah, like a bow saw.
Yeah, bow saw. So there's lots of different ways to use those things, and it's really just a matter of practicing with it and finding out. Sometimes they are garbage. Sometimes they're just for looks and they're just to sell the kit. But other times, like I said, I've seen some that are like, wow, I wish I had like 5 of these because they're so awesome. And I put them everywhere. Now, here's the other part that gets gross. It's in a first aid kit, but think about it. If you had to do something horrible, that is such a better option than a knife or a axe. That's just such a better option for some horrible situation, is all I'm saying, right? So, and then it would be perfect for that kind of situation also.
Okay, let's see. Can it cut this twig? This is going to be a horrible video.
Are you allowed to do this in California without some kind of permit or some kind of
I'm going to
test ahead of time?
I'm going to make the tree hold my phone, so I feel like that's kind of mean.
Of course. That tree didn't agree to it. Are you even paying the tree for this? And then you're going to abuse the tree?
Gosh darn it.
But I mean, I've literally seen people that have those kind of saws and use them often because they're so handy and they're so easy to carry around. Put them in a toolkit and whatever.
This might have to be audio commentary because I can't get the thing, but
I don't know if you can hear me, but it's dead on. I mean, we can see it just fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still
It's
hear
right
you.
in the...
On.
It's right in the silhouette of the sky or whatever. So you put it there perfectly. We can
Oh,
see your
convenient.
hands and where it's hitting and everything.
Yeah, I'm
You're
like
not good
bound
at
up.
it.
Yeah, I agree with
Good.
that.
So here's the deal. Don't make it a V. Make it a right angle. There. Do it like that. Quit trying to make it a. You're not trying to bend the saw into a kink. You're
Okay.
trying to make it a bow saw. Because again,
I,
most people don't know what they're doing, and they try to cut the thing like a horseshoe.
that's how I've seen people do it. So see, this is why I like having friends who know more than me.
Yeah, hold
I'm,
your hands apart from each other like you're the hacksaw and it's the hacksaw blade, and then just bring it down and you'll cut the hell out of stuff. And you won't ruin the saw, because that's the other thing is you're kinking that saw and it's ruining it when you try to cut like a horseshoe.
okay. So there you go. I'm not saying I cut a tree down with it, but how long did that take?
No,
Cut
but
this whole.
that took moments, and you could take a dozen of those, stick them in a lake, and create a trap for fish. So you could go do that for a couple of minutes, go lay down and sleep it off or get comfortable, and then come back in a while and have dozens of fish waiting to eat.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you very much, Jua.
Yeah, no problem.
Now I have to wrap this thing back up somehow.
But it did look like it was a decent one, so it didn't like wear it out just playing with it right there like that. It didn't even phase it.
No, other than when I like kind of bound it up because you told me I was doing it wrong. So
Well, there ain't a right or wrong, but there's definitely different ways to do it. And most people have never even tried, so they just immediately yank on it like a horseshoe for whatever reason.
That is the first time I've ever used one of these. I can fully admit my ignorance on it. I did not know how they really work. Now I can say I've used one.
But like I say, think about it. If you need to get you can do some crazy complicated stuff. I've seen people do some crazy stuff because it's basically a coping saw or a skill saw. It's a jigsaw, except it's powered by you, and you can use it on anything. So anyway, you can do some really elaborate stuff out in the woods.
No, I like it, and that.
And I wonder if it could work on stone. Imagine it probably could. Some of them are diamond. Then you could cut a notch in a stone to make a hammer or an axe or something.
That I am not going to try because this is the only one I have, and
No, you would know the diamond ones. They look different.
Yeah. Now
they
that
look like a cord.
Not throwing it away. So now it's going in my kit. Gonna go right there. All right.
So we were talking about lights originally, and we're kind of digging all around. As far as lights, any headlamps or just flashlights that you have to hold? Suck.
I do have. Oh wait, is my phone still? Oh, okay. Sorry, I almost accidentally quit out. Anyways, I don't have a headlamp in here, but I do own one. It's in my work bag. Maybe I will repurpose it for here or just get another one. It's not like they're super expensive.
That's what I was going to say. They're so cheap now. I bet you a $20 headlamp would be decent, right? And throwing one of them in each bag, I think, would be worth it. They just make life so much easier when you're stressed out and you just always have a light on. If you're just hiking, it's kind of lame to have a headlamp on all the time. But once you're stressed out and there's stuff going on, it's nice to just not have to worry about lights and just have a light every time you look at something.
Right. And that's honestly why I have it at work, because there are times when I need both hands and I'm inside a dark area. And so I can't hold the flashlight and like hold the wrench in the other end of the bolts and try and get the nut on the other side, and my hand's all weird. So I just put the headlamp on and then do what you got to do for work. So I do appreciate. Let's see. So
and what about you said you got the lantern thing. Have you use that? Because once you've got a lantern, those things are pretty nice. When you can take something like that and maybe toss it up into a tree with a cord or something so that it's maybe 12 foot high and it kind of lights up the whole area. I mean, especially when you don't have a fire going, it's super nice to have something like a lamp. I don't know what to call that, like a lantern-ish thing. But with LEDs, it definitely doesn't have to be something like the olden days where we had Coleman fuel lamps and stuff. Made all that noise and you had to carry it around. and then worry about it break is super fragile. Those things were horrible compared to LEDs now.
Yeah, so I played around with it. It came in a 2-pack. I played around with it. In fact, I think the other one is still in this
You're
pack.
talking about that beach ball kind?
Yeah.
The LED. Are they bright enough like that to put up in the air and have it be like a substitute for a firelight?
It's pretty bright. Yeah.
Now, yours is clear. I've seen them that are not clear, like just white, I guess, and like opaque white. But when the light goes on, they're like a lit up beach ball. And I think those are more for that. Yours is clear. Does it still do that, or is it more for like lighting up a tent, I guess?
I don't know. It lights up pretty good. Let me see. Maybe it's dark enough inside my garage. I'll try and turn it on here in a minute. But then just a couple other things. Got a sheet of paper, a little tiny multi-tool, a pen. Like I said, you like to leave yourself notes or stick a note on a tree or something. Hey, I went this way. Come find me. Save me. A little knife. It's not the best quality, but if my EDC goes down, at least I still got something.
What do you got to worry about stuff like that and legally there, or is that an issue?
This is fine. It's spring assist. That's okay. And then I don't know. I just found these. I had a pair of work gloves. So I tossed those in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like having gloves for sure. It's kind of a toss up. I like having gloves I've worn before. So usually it depends. Like when I was doing different jobs, I could have a pair of gloves, and when they would get to like a point where they were worn in and they were comfortable and I'd worn in the leather or whatever, but I hadn't ruined them yet, and I was thinking about it, like usually if I was going hunting or something, then I would take those gloves and call them my hunting gloves because they're going to get ruined. All gloves to me go through a life of like they're brand new and useless because they're brand new. Then they get worn in and they're good, and then they get ruined and you got to start all over. So I would try to get them broke in and then put them into my outdoor gear when they were good. You know what I mean? And then I didn't have to have like a brand new pair whenever I went out and did something. And I also wasn't taking out a pair that had like, liquid nails all over them or like big tears in them or whatever would happen to them.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. Now I only have like one pair and I don't really ever do anything. So it takes forever to get broke in. So now I'm kind of screwed. So now I basically have brand new gloves everywhere. That's why I decided to go with more of the tactical thing, which are just isotoners for men and, with like better colors or whatever. So you don't have to worry about them getting broke in because they're already fake. They're fake, made out of material that doesn't need to get broken or whatever. But they're also wimpy and they cost like $70. So I'm in the same position as with some of the first aid stuff. It's like, oh, I got a nice pair of
Oh, yeah, you're kind of breaking up in there. But I do want to show this because it's already dark enough in my garage to show you that Every Second Matters patch glows.
Well, that is nice to have some kind of indicators if you were to drop that or if somebody was looking for you on a really dark thing, that would pop. Anything will pop, but a green on black definitely pop.
All right, and then let's see.
Have you seen the things where it's basically like it's like a bunch of glow in the dark plastic that they'll put into something, like maybe a tube of plastic or like a Ziploc, a vacuum bag or something, so that you basically have something that takes no batteries and still glows in the dark?
No.
You know what I'm talking about though? Like, like when you're a little kid and you'll get like stars that glow in the dark and you stick them on your ceiling or,
okay.
Just that stuff, plastic that glows in the dark. It's probably like the leftover residue when they're drilling something out, but basically it's a bunch of scrap plastic that instead of throwing it away, they'll put it in like a vacuum bag. So imagine something the size of a sandwich baggie or a 1 gallon baggie. And it's got a bunch of like little scraps of that glow in the dark plastic in it that are about half as thick as a sandwich. Or like if you put one slice of bread into a vacuum sealer and it's squished, it's about that thick. So it's basically just almost a sheet of paper, except it's a little bit thicker than a sheet of paper. And it's kind of flexible because it's just a vacuum sealed baggie. And then inside of it is all this glow in the dark material. So you leave that thing out during the day. And then at night, it just glows until it quits glowing, usually most of the night though. And those have been around as inexpensive glow lantern type of things. Anyway, I was just wondering if you'd seen them.
No,
They're
I
too
haven't.
expensive. They're too expensive for me. But
So this is
oh yeah, that's pretty
low,
diffuse, even though it's clear. At least it
medium.
seems diffused in the video.
I guess you would. So I mean, you know how phones are when it's dark and then it tries to
Yeah, it's always going to be a little different, but yeah, that's
I
super bright.
see the corner of my garage. Like that's good enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed when I was playing with it, it's got an SOS here. So you
Hmm.
set that on, you toss it up in the tree, someone's gonna be like, "What the heck is that blinking?"
Yeah, no, that's cool. It doesn't cost you anything. Yeah, it doesn't take any effort to leave that out, and you just let it charge all day. Yeah, that's a great idea to have that around.
Yeah, I'm very happy. And
Yeah, I remember when I first saw those was maybe 6 years ago or something, and now they're at Walmart. Like now I see them on the shelves place.
so that's I walked over into the part that's got light. I mean, they're not that big, and you just squish them down.
Well, and if you needed to, you could fill that with water probably.
Yeah,
Might
faster,
ruin
faster.
it, but it'd save some water.
That's one of the things I remember. So I always used to like watching Survivor Man, and he did a thing one time where he's like pretended he was a hunter that like his truck broke down or got stuck in the snow or whatever. Now he's lost and whatever, blah blah blah. And his whole thing was he ripped that truck apart because he's like, most people they won't use whatever they actually have available to them. I mean, he cut the seat and all this and made little like galoshes with the foam from the seats and used the seatbelt to wrap around something or whatever. And I'm like, that is a really good point. Is like, especially with a stupid little thing like this light, I'm gonna die of dehydration, or I'm gonna cut the end, like the corner, off of a little $2 bag light and fill it with water, and that's gonna be the difference between living or not. Like sometimes
Right.
you just have to sacrifice some stuff, and
Well,
you have
and
to
that's
pay with that.
and that's gives it more worth in a set of gear because it has dual value or dual roles, right? It works as this role until it's necessary to work as that role, or it can always do both roles, or like it can be sacrificed to be this, that kind of stuff.
Right. But I wouldn't have thought hey, this could actually hold some water now too. So again, this talking out loud brainstorming stuff is great.
Now, here's another thing since you're talking about outside the box use of that thing, depending on where you are. But if you got fish or a lake or whatever, probably a river, but a lake for sure, you take that thing, put it on a string, and throw it out there and then fish around it. That's got to be better than not having that thing laying in the water. Like that's going to bring a fish around and then you can fish around it. And, or at least the bugs will come around and catch some bugs to use as bait. You know what I mean? Like that thing being a light that can throw on the water and not get ruined by floating on the water out there. So I'm guessing you can throw it on the water.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because you're right. That's if you're doing it at night and the bugs come around, the fish might be coming up around by the bugs anyways. So if you do have at least one, and that's where was that? I saw that one of my little survival kit things actually comes with. I think actually it is that orange one, but it had a fishing line and a couple of actual like those hooks that like you'd stick on a worm, where like the head part is where it's got the eye that you put the fish hook through or the fish lining through, and then you stab the hook through a worm or a grub or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the end of the world. You tie that on, maybe tie that to the loop on the lantern. Now you have a bobber, wrap it around a stick or whatever, catch some little fish.
Yeah, you don't even need nothing. You could just have a hook hanging off of that, yeah, and then just drag it in on a rope or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I like because I have a ice fishing pole that's like that. It's literally just a a stick, and then there's like two little dowels that you wrap the line around. Because when you're ice fishing, like you just catch a little fish, you just lift it up and the fish come out of the water.
Oh, okay.
So you don't need a rod and reel to go fishing most of the time. I'm not going to be sitting there fighting a sea bass or something by hand. So, all right. So that was pretty cool. Lights. Oh, and you know what? I realized that I don't have a flashlight in that pack when I was going through it. I know I have plenty of leftover flashlights laying around, so I will find one, grab one, and toss it in there.
Now you got that. Okay, so now that's light, and then in a couple of different ways, but you know they overlap. So just having a headlight would be as the same as just having the one light. You know, they all be fine by themselves, but having multiple just means you got redundancy and you can do more. So then, I was gonna say, oh, that whistle or whatever. What do you got for signaling? Because I'm guessing in a situation where there's multiple people and critters, it's not going to be like, oh, we're stuck here. Well, let's just stay here for no reason, right? It's going to be more like, oh, we're stuck here because I got an injury, or there's an emergency and we need to get the heck out of here. So as far as signal, and where you're going to be going and circumstances and stuff, is it like you're going to be at places where a whistle alone would get people's attention and bring them over? Or is it going to be more like one of those SATCOM type of situations where you need to bust a SATCOM signal and bring in a helicopter type of thing?
That's a good question. I would think for my adventurousness and around here, a whistle would be okay. Because again, I'm not trying to go climb the Rocky Mountains or whatever. I'm going on, let's say, a set trail that. And I guess the biggest thing. Let me tell a little story real quick for the audience, and you may have heard this before, but there was a time that me and my dad were up north snowshoeing on an actual trail, snowshoe trail. Okay, great. And we're cruising along. We're following the checkpoints and all this and that. And it was snowing like crazy. I mean, we couldn't even see a couple of feet in front of us. It was pretty bad, but we think we're on the trail. We're good. After a little bit, let's say we're out there for 3 hours or so, we realize we're not on the trail. Now we still have a general idea of like where the parking lot was, where we parked the car. We were planning on going out hiking for like 2 or 3 hours, just doing a big loop. We're on a marked trail. Like there's people cross country skiing around. Like we should be fine. Well, it got to the point where it started getting dark and we're not 100% sure where we are. That's what sparked in my brain that, yeah, we brought a couple bottles of water and, like you had mentioned before, some Slim Jims and a, whatever, trail mix, because that was just going to be our lunch, like, because we figured it'd be a nice, fun day. And I'm starting to realize that this might be what we eat tonight, because if we don't find the car by the time it gets dark, I don't want to be walking in a blizzard at night trying to find the car. You're going to end up getting yourself more lost than just hunkering down and trying to find your way out in the morning or whatever. Luckily, we ended up basically, because we did have a pretty good general idea. We know we're going east. We know that the parking lot's back south. Like we have to go around this ridge. We looped back around and we ran into one of the cross country ski trails, looked at the number. Oh, we're at number 17, marker. We thought we were actually past that. So it was kind of a shock once we figured out where we were. We weren't nearly as far into the woods as I thought we were because we'd been walking for so long. But with snowshoes, it's like, it's a pain in the butt walking. You get tired after 15 minutes. It felt like you walked 20 miles and you only walked 2. If that, 2 miles in 15 minutes would be pretty fast in snowshoes. Or you walk a mile. That's about right. A mile in 20 minutes because it's hard going unless it's all packed down. But anyway, so that is something that has personally happened to me where I realized, we had this little backpack and we had a bottle of water each and we had a couple of Slim Jims and a power bar or whatever. And we didn't have anything else. So, I don't know. It's just, to me, in my mindset, I was almost, I don't know if to say ashamed is the right word, but it definitely put in my brain, this could have been bad. Like me and my dad could have been stuck outside at night in the middle of a snowstorm. I may have had a lighter. Maybe we could have made a fire or whatever. But anyway, so the point is something like that, a whistle or whatever may help because it turns out we were a lot closer to the cross country ski trail, which is packed down and is a lot easier to walk on than the snowshoe trail, which is not groomed at all. And so maybe a whistle that you catch someone's attention as they're coming around the ridge, at least they could, say, okay, there's someone out there. I'm going to, call the DNR or whatever, and they'll come find them.
And if you're in a situation like that, then I think that's even more appropriate to bring, maybe something like a wax pencil and like something that can handle the weather. Because you're talking about winter. I don't have to deal with that ever, but maybe rain or something, or dew in the morning, even when it's not raining. There's places where water will wreak havoc on stuff over time. But anyway, leaving some sort of a message behind. You don't want to necessarily be the guy that tries to carve everything in trees. I mean, that is technically a thing, but it's not going to be seen by everybody, and it's abusive, and it's just it's not unnatural, right? People aren't going to be looking for a broken tree as much as they're going to see an out of place index card in a baggie, like tied to a tree or like dangling from a middle of a trail. So anyway, whistles can get people to where you are if you're stuck someplace, but if you're lost and looking for help or something like that, or maybe you came across a house or a vehicle and you're not sure if that vehicle's been there for 8 months or 18 minutes, right? And you want to leave something behind, but you're also not going to just hang out there because you don't know what's going on. Humans being able to leave communication behind with piece of paper, marker. The easiest way, I think, is marker, Sharpie marker, index cards, and Ziploc bags, because those don't weigh much and they can be used for multiple things. The Ziploc bags can be used for containers for other things, but they can, weatherproof a note, and then that can do leave all kinds of information behind. Like, we're going to be at the car, we headed towards the river, we don't know where we are. You can just do so much more information behind. And if it's something like that, somebody sees that, and you could say, there's 3 of us, we went in 3 different, you could say so much more information, and then and then you have the whistle to zone them into you or something. Or like, okay, right, one person can go up, leave this message, and then come back down here. Now you have a thing to leave a message, So anyway, there's so many circumstances where communication, I think, can end a problem rather than trying to bring all this stuff to survive the problem. Let's just get you out of the problem, right? So then radios and stuff like that, or is it the kind of situation where you're even worried about some kind of a walkie-talkie? Because that would be my recommendation, is just your typical FRMS, go to the store and buy a walkie-talkie. You can say on that, help me, help me, help me, and everybody's listening to that. Real emergency services listen to it, and regular people listen to it. Regular scanner people might be listening to it. You got so much more ears. Having a ham radio and everything sounds good, but it's just a way to scam you into spending money. Having like a used radio that doesn't weigh much and has some extra batteries in it that if you don't use it, you can use in a flashlight. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can be a multi-useful thing if you anticipate, again, 4x4s going by, or hunters or ranchers maybe, or something, because you get out beyond cell distance, you're not necessarily beyond humans, you're just beyond cell towers, and you might be able to have a little radio and give yourself, save yourself miles of walking. That makes sense? Or maybe speak up to an airplane or something, I guess, but that would be more like ham radio, getting in trouble. Maybe.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. And the fact of, you're outside of cell service, but not outside people. Well, the fact that we walked to that location means that people are around. Like, we decided it was a good idea to go walk in the woods. Someone else might also.
Yeah, good point.
So
you're getting people out there. I can't tell how many people are watching because of the rules, but I'm guessing you didn't take. Huh?
It says 4 people watching.
So, but you're
and Grandpa, Mad Sexy, Gun Snob, and yourself. Because I'm not watching. Oh, so then there's one secret. Who's spying on us? Why haven't you said anything?
But I'm just saying you're looking for input, right? So that was communication. Like say that one is a tough one because people can nerd out and go nuts on that if they want to. But a fire can be communication. Having a way to make a fire, make a big enough fire, you send up some smoke, they're coming. Like people are, especially in California, they're not going to not pay attention to a smoke fire. So I don't know. Do you know how to make a smoke fire instead of a regular fire? You played around with fire enough?
Yeah, I think so. You get some nice wet stuff or some like young stuff. Get a nice
Yeah,
hot
right
fire
on.
and then
So
toss it on there.
because there's probably people that don't know crap about how to make a smoky fire. And it's not like you necessarily ever have to sit down to figure it out. It's just that if you make a fire wrong too many times, you're like, okay, now I know how to not make it a real smoky fire, right? But
Yeah,
that also lets you know how to make a real smoky fire when you need.
yeah, a nice big chunk of grass because I know that from years of cutting the grass up north and then raking it all up and tossing it in one big pile and trying to set it on fire, which my dad likes to do, and he smokes out our whole area. And it's like, okay, or we could rake it up in a pile next to the fire, and then as we get it hot, then we slowly add some of it on. That would be my suggestion. But
Well, but then see, that's also interesting because if that's something that is happening, like if that's something that people do in that region or area or whatever, then it would do you almost no good to start a smoky fire because everyone would be ignoring it, right?
yeah, but I
But
think you
where you're at, yeah, making a fire, you can basically just make a fire and then take some leaves or something, and if they're not already wet, throw them in a creek or something, get them wet, and then throw them on the fire, and then as they get dry again, they smoke more than regular. But yeah, I mean, we don't have to start with all that. But anyway, so you could just as easily, I think, call matches a signal as a ham radio, is I guess what I'm getting at. Just a matter of how much of a nuisance you want to be, and if you want to call in like the cavalry every time you break your leg. But I don't know. I guess there's probably, if you made a video saying, I plan to not bring a radio because if I break my leg, I'm just calling in the cavalry. I'm just going to burn, act like the forest is burning down and then get a free ride out. If you made a video saying that was your plan, I think they would make you pay for the ride. I think like if you went around saying that was your plan. But on the other hand, if it gets to the point where you're lost and stranded, if they come running to see a forest fire and you're up there lost and stranded, they're not going to leave you there. They're going to be like, okay, let's get this guy out of here. And then they might charge you for the effort, but at least you get out of there.
and that's one of those things that falls into the judged by 12 or carried by 6 kind of thing. Like, I'll deal with that when I'm not dying in the forest again. Like, okay, I have to pay for it. That sucks. I gotta mortgage my house or do whatever. Like, I don't know. We'll figure that part out later. But at least I'm not bleeding to death on a mountain or whatever. Now, if I'm just kind of turned around and have been walking for an extra hour than I thought I should have been, then it's not time to signal fire yet. You know what I mean? Like that's, and again, I go back to my real life experience. Me and my dad were like kind of concerned, but also knew that we're in an area. The other thing is we knew there was a highway of, what was it, maybe like 12 miles that we had to run in. Like if we kept going the same direction, we had to hit that highway. So worst case scenario was we walk all the way out to there and then somehow get a ride back to the parking lot, grab our car, and then go back home. So we weren't like super, but the point was it was starting to get dark where we might not make it all the way to the highway in time. Maybe we're out there all night or whatever. So again, that I wouldn't have caused a huge ass signal fire on that either, because it's like we're kind of turned around, but we also still kind of know where we are. Now, if we had kept walking for another 4 or 5 hours and not come across the trail that we thought we were heading towards anyways, then we know we're really turned around from where we thought we were, and now it's time to like start thinking a little more serious. So it's like we were one level of this isn't quite right. We should be further along than we are. Something's wrong, but not the end of the world quite yet. And that's where I will comment to gun loving Grant, but you probably didn't hear the first part because he's saying cell phones will be the first thing to go when shit hits the fan. For me personally, for this particular chat, I'm just brainstorming out loud, not necessarily shit hit the fan stuff. I'm taking the dogs on a hike with my girl. Maybe we get turned around a little bit. We're lost on a trail. What kind of stuff should I have in my pack? Maybe someone falls down, twists their ankle, that type of thing. it is very well possible some of the areas we go, we still have cell service. So that's fine too. Call up, say, hey man, I need someone to help me carry her out of here. Like whatever it is. Smoke bombs? I guess that could be a signaling thing.
I don't know.
But
We have used them
most
back in
people
the day when you
with
could still
kids
buy.
playing around with smoke bombs. Like,
What? I stopped over you.
oh yeah, I was gonna say, would most people see that and think, oh, like that, purple or green smoke? That must be some kid playing with smoke bombs. Like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Is when we were hunting back in the day, we would when you could still buy the smoke bombs that had they weren't pins, but you could pull this ring and it would light them off. Um, I think they were for skydiving or something because they would last for a while and they would pump out like a lot of good smoke, but they didn't leave too much residue behind, and they were just a tube when you were done, like a little toilet paper tube type of thing, so we could take them out with us. Anyway, we bought a bunch of those, and when we would go hiking or hunting, sometimes when this was a long time ago, so we didn't all have CBs and stuff, so every once in a while, one of us would pop a smoke, and then the other one would pop it, and then we'd know where we were on different hills from each other and stuff. So we weren't, so we knew where we were at, and that's what happened. Like it would pop smoke, and no one cared at all. Like what I mean? Like no one saw it, nobody cared. It lasts for a moment. Even if you carry down real smoke grenades, they last for 10,000 cubic feet or something. Like they're not very big. They're good enough for identifying. Like if someone's looking, like you pop your smoke and hold it up, and if someone sees a bunch of smoke and they pop theirs, that's long enough for that interaction to take place and for you to recognize where the smoke's origin is. But half the time, you'd see the cloud of smoke and have to try to figure out where they were standing, because you'd see the cloud of smoke that started and ended and then started to drift, and you'd have to figure out where it came from. You know what I mean? Like you'd just see the smoke in the air. So I just think that's the problem with smoke bomb. You'd have to have a fire going, so there'd be a continuous amount of smoke that they would think is a fire that is not ending. Otherwise, they would just think people are playing around, or that it was who knows what, right? Some instance. But again, I guess it depends on the place too. You go into a national park and make any smoke, and you're going to get arrested. They're not. You don't do anything with smoke in some places, I guess.
Well, I forget where I heard this from, but someone called like 911 for help. I'm probably butchering this story, but the person thought it was like a prank call or whatever, because they're like, "Come help me," blah blah blah, whatever. And the dispatcher was like, "Stop it," and blah blah blah, and like, "No, seriously," and they hung up on him or whatever. So they called back. And they're like, "Sir, it's illegal to call 911 like as a prank call or whatever." And he's like, "Well, then come arrest me. Like I'm asking for help, so go. Like if it's illegal to prank call, then send someone to my location and come arrest me, because then they can actually help me because I am in danger." And I wish I could remember more of the story, but I specifically remember someone going, "Well, then come arrest me, because at least then I'll get out of here." Like, whatever. Anyways,
Hmm.
so that'd be fine. I'm okay with if it's illegal to starting a campfire, and that they're gonna come find me they're gonna find me to find me, and I'll say, "Cool, go ahead, write me the ticket, but also, do you notice how my leg is like sticking out of the skin? Like, can you put me on a stretcher and get me out of here?" And they'll say, "Yeah, I guess so."
I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting maybe to talk to somebody who is a wilderness rescue, because I'll bet you that happens, right? I mean, you have to be able to alert someone somehow. And since most people aren't carrying around a Forest Service radio, you know what I mean? I'll bet you it happens more than we think, where somebody does something that they think is a fire or whatever, and they get out there and it's somebody that needs help. You know what I mean? That must be on their mind, I'm thinking. But now that I'm thinking about it, the stuff I've never actually taken like a wilderness EMT, but I've been super curious about it, so I've been close to it. I've read the books and stuff, and I don't remember anything specifically saying it. But then I've never been through the full curriculum before. Grandpa's saying, would a road flare put out enough smoke? That's a good question, because they're literally designed to be illumination, and they do end up throwing out quite a bit of smoke. My first reaction though to a road flare is everyone I've ever had sweats like dynamite in my trunk. Like I wouldn't want one in my bag. Like they're gross in my vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At
I've
least the
never
ones.
really played around with road flares. Just kind of seen them on the side of the road, but
But I guess next to that or adjacent to that is I have a ton. Like I have way too many life raft flares because I get them at Big Sandy for free almost. And back when I had money, I bought way too many of them. So the deal with the flares that are for life rafts in the ocean, right? They're definitely designed to go as long as possible, be as efficient as possible. They still only last for a minute or a while, like they're not forever, and they're made to like when you see an airplane, shoot it, right? No, don't just shoot it for no reason. But they have some kind of expiration date on them, and they're like life preservers or something. Once they hit their expiration date, they got to get rid of them. So you can get them for like pennies on the dollar if you don't need them to be good. And the thing is, they don't like die as soon as they hit the expiration date. They're, I don't know, even if they are reduced. I mean, I've shot a lot of them, and none of them were ever a dud. I guess it's possible that they don't last as long as they would normally, but who cares? Because they cost nothing almost. So that's what I would recommend. If you are interested in flares, I would get the life raft flares because they are the opposite. Like every road flare I've had is like dynamite. They're made out of paper in a cardboard tube and they're gross. And after years in the Arizona desert, at least, they sweat and they're sick. They like sweat chemical out of them. You know what I mean? I don't know if that happens to you, but they're gross. And we always have to put them in like plastic bags and stuff out here so that they don't get on everything after a while. Where a road or a life raft flare is almost always plastic. It's like a weird plasticky thing because I guess they're meant to be waterproof. I guess, but and they're also way cheaper. I don't know what road flares even cost because I haven't bought them since I was a kid. But I would imagine must be a website. If I'm buying them from this guy who shows up at Big Sandy, he must have a website, and there must be a lot of places. Think about how many life rafts there are on all those boats out there. Every one of them has a life raft, and at some point, somebody makes them pull the flares out and put new ones in. Maybe every couple of years. All those life rafts, there's tons of them out there. In fact, I'm surprised. That's probably where global warming is coming from. Now that I'm thinking about it.
That makes sense.
Okay, so that was road flare, or that was the. What do you think about the road flare? You're back to just the lighter makes a fire, and that brings people in for your backpacking.
Right. That was one of the things with road flares. Definitely can be useful for starting a fire if you're in, really wet conditions or whatever. Those things will at least keep burning enough to you dry out some sticks and leaves to catch fire and do whatever. That was one thing while I was sitting here. I did think of the thermal blanket thing. I have like a whole bunch of those little aluminum foil things. So I guess I would toss that in there in case you need it. Make a shelter out of it or whatever. Wrap yourself in it.
Have you ever had fancy blankets nowadays? You know how they make windbreakers and like things to wipe your car and stuff like out of these fancy new materials? They must make like fancy new blankets that are thin but somehow super warm.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think so. I just know of like the super thin, like the aluminum foily things.
Right, that's what I've got too. I mean, they're what they are.
Into like a blanket because that's like I have a pair of snow boots. They call them pack boots, and it's like felt, and then there's basically a thermal blanket inside there, and then like more felt and wool and like everything that you need, like cold weathery type stuff. And then the shell on the outside is like just waterproof, like rubber and whatever. But those things are super warm. It reflects all that heat back to your foot, and it's because it's insulating felt with the aluminum and then more felt, so it's like you're good to go. I think they're rated for like below 20 degrees or something. When I go snowshoeing, I never have cold feet, and I'm walking in knee deep, hip deep snow. Never get cold feet. So just do that same thing and make it a blanket size. You're good to go. Because surprisingly, although it seems to be pretty hot during the day, at nighttime around here, it can get chilly. I mean, in the summer, maybe it gets down into the low 60s, so that's not the end of the world. But if like you're wet, hurt, it still wouldn't be super comfortable. You might want a blanket. And then during the winter times, it can be in the 40s. It's not something comfortable if you're in a t-shirt and blue jeans because it was 60 something during the day. You weren't really planning on being out there at night.
Well, and again, it's comfort is one thing, but the injury end of it. So you're in shock, or somebody had something happen, or hypothermia sets in. You know, there's those kind of situations where you need that heat, or you need to retain it, or maybe, I guess, stretchers or improvised cot, not cot. Well, I guess a cot, but stretchers, getting people out places. That's where those space blankets are. Um, well, they're useful, like what you just said for heat. But when you're talking like improvising a stretcher or something, that's where like what should I say, like one of ponchos or just a big blanket, um, like a tarp, maybe. I guess that's all you really need is a
Yeah.
tarp, but not like a blue tarp from like Home Depot or from what do you call it, Harbor Freight. That's kind of huge and heavy. But there's got to be something that's in between those, maybe, or it's still got some structure to it.
Yeah, but a tarp that's like whatever, like person size or something.
Maybe what it might work, and you might already have it. Here's what I'm thinking, and this is exactly what I'm thinking of too. But you know how a lot of tents will have a fly, like a rain fly
Hmm.
on top? Maybe just the rain fly. Just bring like a rain fly from a two-person tent, or like a standard size, even a one-person tent. But something that if you had to, you could drag somebody in it. And if you needed to, you could use it as a blanket, but it wouldn't, it's not like it's going to be a thermal blanket, but that's the kind of thing if you laid it down, put a bunch of leaves on it, and then put the other side on, now it's like a quilt for the person that's wounded. Or it can be a shade. So maybe that's what I would say is in addition to a space blanket, something like a fly. Maybe that's what I was trying to say, like a nylon, ripstop nylon. You'd probably not be so thick that the sun wouldn't come through it, but if you had to shade somebody, it could be like the wall of a tent, basically. So size of a sleeping bag, fold it in half, but not with zippers or anything, just a fly. I think that's what I'm going to suggest, some sort of fly.
Yeah, I mean Scott's got a pretty good suggestion out there too. What about those camping hammocks?
And then you could do
One of
everything I
those.
was just saying with the hammock, or use it as a hammock right away. And then that could be super cool because now you're dragging something up there, or you find an awesome spot, especially the two of you. If it was like me and you, we're not taking a hammock, but you and your girlfriend could be like, hey, let's lay in this hammock together, and nobody's going to say anything weird about it.
Exactly. Yep. And
You might even find
because I
something to
have
do
one
if
of
you're
those.
laying in a hammock together.
I would lay in a hammock with you, G Webs, if it was a beautiful spot overlooking the ocean. I'm
You
not
talk about,
homophobic.
well, here, it depends. If you're laying in a hammock long ways, that's weird. If you're laying in a hammock like it's just a couch and you're both sitting in a hammock next to each other, that's a whole different thing. Like if you're
Maybe
sitting
next
in
to
a
a beach.
hammock like you're both in a pickup truck looking the same way, that's different than laying in a hammock like you're two hot dogs intertwined in a bun.
So which is worse? Would you want to be the big spoon or the little spoon?
Let's just say I'm not eating no Taco Bell with you on the seashore. I don't care how fancy the Taco Bell is.
Oh man, this thing was so nice. Like the view was just amazing. And I'm like, seriously? I'm at a Taco Bell?
I
I
think
mean,
somebody said it best, like it's Demolition Man. Like all restaurants are Taco Bell. Just this one's the fancier one.
yeah. I mean that's why I used the hashtag Demolition Man was right. But anyways, that's sidetrack.
Well, all right. So the fly though, or a hammock, do you have something like that?
I have a hammock. I don't. Do I have a hammock here though? Did I bring that with me or not? That's a
Is it
good
that
question.
kind though? Because there's a big difference between like the backyard kind and then like the backpacking kind, right?
No, it's the backpacking kind. It's basically like that, like parachute material or whatever. It rolls up the size of like, well, yeah, you would remember like a CD case that you'd keep some CDs in your car.
hmm Well, it
It's
depends if you're talking the one size or the double size, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like not
just
very big.
like, yeah, like a single CD, like it holds 12 of them or whatever. Like that.
Yeah,
It's about
exactly.
that size pack when you wrap it all up. It's a little bit wider than like a CD, and
And it's like
about
made out of a tent material though, not like out of a net, like those shitty net kinds.
right. Yeah, no, it's like parachute material, right? Yeah, or tent material. Yeah, it's like some nylon-y kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Because then you've got it for all those other uses if you have to, and then you got it as a hammock. That's probably even Well, I wouldn't want a hammock because I don't got no trees here. You've got trees, so it makes sense. But you know what I mean? Like the hiking in the desert with a hammock would be like hiking with a beach ball. There's no point.
Yeah, but no, that's a good point, man. That it could be usable for just regular old. Oh yeah, because again, this for some people joining late. Yes, I called it bug out bag in the chat, but we're not talking shit hits the fan. We're not talking zombie apocalypse. We're talking going on a nice little hike with my doggies and my girl. And what if something happens where we end up having to get a little turned around, get off trail or something? Maybe there's an injury. So I want some preparedness, but you notice we never on this list talked about, oh, I'm gonna bring my AR-15 and my plate carrier, but like I'm not bringing that stuff. That's not what this is for. So I'm not really bugging out. So yeah, I really like hammock. That is a useful thing for just an enjoyable night when nothing goes wrong, and it could totally be used as a stretcher or a sunshade or a makeshift blanket for injury or other type of disaster. So I don't know, not getting too many more suggestions out in the chat. G-Web's pretty much brainstormed a bunch of good ideas. I'm not quite sure. It's going on, what, about an hour and a half? That's pretty good. So I guess I'll leave it up to if anyone has any other suggestions last minute. If not, I'll wait.
So, I'll let you finish.
Oh, you got way more stuff, G-Webs?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen to two
water,
things.
I got light.
No, that's the thing. You're not trying to make like a bug out bag. So I was just going to go food, or what was I saying? Drink, food, and shelter. So I think we hit the main things that are kill you, right? You've got plenty of water. Your food was whatever. You're not going to die in 2 days in California. So anything that's, you know, a little bit extra, I think would work there, right? And then shelter, I think I guess the only other thing would be like 2 of those or something, like, you know, a second hammock or like an adding thing, like I was saying, some sort of a. I just have to assume there must be some sort of a space age material now that makes a really thin, warm type of blanket. But if you carried the hammock and she carried the blanket, you know what I mean? Like I think that's pretty much all you'd ever need to be comfortable. Oh, I guess there's the signaling of that part of it, and we covered that too, right? So everything else would, I think, be a luxury. We kind of covered the first aid a little bit. Nothing extreme though. I mean, you only kind of looked at your inexpensive kit. Are you planning on doing anything more with?
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna like I said, I kind of want to build my own. Just real quick, since I ran down here. Another thing on the water, I picked these things up. They're like little collapsible water jugs, and it's like 2.5 gallons. So you can take one of these, throw it in the bag, and then if you find a water source, you can fill up. And having 2.5 gallons of water is pretty useful. But I just wanted to show how small that this is a 4-pack. There's 4 of them in there. But anyways, yeah. So
how much was that? Was that like a couple of bucks, or was that $30?
Oh no, I think this is the couple of bucks range. I'm not really the $30 type guy.
So where was that at? I would get those for a couple of bucks for 4.
I'm gonna guess Amazon, but I don't know that for sure.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like Walmart or Harbor Freight or something like that. It was you're looking online. I think I just
picked it up, and then I just thought of something else here. These things. So we get a thing called Imperfect Foods, which is pretty cool. It's like I think it's weekly, or you can do it bi-weekly or whatever. And they send you all like the weird looking tomatoes, which are perfectly fine, but they just like look weird, so restaurants don't want them. And you can get like pre-packaged stuff. But every time they ship them in this like bubble wrap, you know, with the aluminum on it.
Are you kidding me? You got a ton of that? Holy moly.
Yes.
Wow.
So I've been saving them, and then along with the freezer packs. So again, if I'm going out on a day trip and we're planning on having a little picnic, I'll put this into like a cooler or something that we're already going to carry. And then, anyways, the point was I now have that material that I can makeshift whatever I feel like.
Yeah. Not only is that's great that you're reusing that. That stuff is probably got a million uses. Yeah, that's crazy. That's interesting. And that's in San Francisco that they're delivering and leaving that. I would think that they'd have some sort of thing like, hey, if you give us back that packaging that's perfectly good, 5 cents off or some deposit gets taken off your next order. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the deposit land. Don't you have to pay a deposit for bags when you go to the store in California?
You don't know. It's not a deposit because you never get the money back. You just have to pay for bags.
Oh, that's right. You just don't get bags. I know in different states, I've experienced different little situations, and I thought it was kind of interesting because here in Arizona, there's no rules. You can just do whatever. So somebody's like, I don't like the look of that gallon of milk. I'm putting it in 1,700 bags. Then you're getting 1,700 bags, that nobody cares. And then I've been to California where they're like, well, what are you going to do with all this stuff? And I'm like, well, you're going to put it in a bag and I'm taking it home. And they're like, not unless you pay us like $15. I was like, what? So I had no idea. So anyway, it's just interesting that they're putting stuff in foil and then leaving it there because that's, super recyclable and blah, blah, blah. Plus, you would think that they're paying good money for that. They'd want it back. It's like a pizza box. I could never understand why pizza boxes, why don't they make it like 1 inch more better and then get it back the next time you order a pizza, have a coupon on it or something so that they just say, are you giving us a box back? And then you can go, I'm giving you 7 boxes back. Oh, you're getting a free pizza then. You know what I mean? Like it could have been such a cool thing for the pizza industry to encourage more sales. Instead, they just destroyed forests and don't even think about it. But anyway, I just thought in San Francisco, that would have been like a given that they'd have some sort of return thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, you get a bunch of cool stuff. You can make all kinds of stuff with that.
Right. And I guess I could just put an empty one, just roll it up and put it in one of the pockets of the bag. But I'm just figuring I'll put that as a liner to because if we're taking a cooler or something, and then that, maybe she'll be carrying the cooler, I'll carry the backpack, whatever. I'll put that as a liner inside the cooler. One, it's now I've doubled the efficiency of my cooler.
Yep.
Then 2, I can cut the thing apart if I need to use it for something. Because I have a bunch of them, I really won't feel bad.
And that's the thing. It's a disposable, basically. It's nothing. So it's already been paid for. You could say whatever. And yeah, you're not going to hesitate to destroy it. I mean, I'm super cheap. So when I bring zip ties with me, I'd be like, should I use this zip tie? Or should I try using this other thing? And it's like, come on. When you don't have to think about it, you just start using the materials that you. I've seen pizza boxes with targets on them. That's the way to do it. Have pizza boxes with targets and then do postal matches, except call them pizza matches. And then every week or something, the kids that use a BB gun or an airsoft or something with the best targets, like some sort of postal match, they get some kind of free toppings or something. Or they get a pizza party. How cool would that be?
Yeah, I would say
we just mixed 2A and pizza at the end here. We couldn't even help it. We just solved a bunch of 2A with pizza at the end accidentally. This is an extra helping on this.
Yeah, extra toppings. But anyways, good. I started answering the question about the med kit, which I definitely need way more stuff. But I have. Oops, I didn't necessarily mean to click on that. Sorry, but I have access to some pre-packaged little medicines and stuff, so I want to grab some of those as well. I had some Tylenol and some sinus medication, and it's all individually packaged thing where it's got 1 or 2 things in it. And then that also has a lot of Band-Aids as well as a lot of ointments and burn cream and anti-itch stuff like Neosporin, pre-made package. So you just rip it and it's like a one-time use. So those are super useful for tossing toss a couple in your truck, toss a couple in your bag.
Have you ever done?
You're going out.
You ever done a backwards inventory and thought about all your different adventures and trials and tribulations and situations that you've been in, and then made a list of all the stuff that would have been good and then make that your build too or something?
That is a good idea, and that's where you had mentioned that earlier as well. Is like I think right at the very beginning, where like everyone's different, so think back of the adventures you have been on and been like, man, I really wish I would have had more water, or I really wish I would have had something like when this happened and it was a pain in the
Well,
butt trying to fix it or whatever.
I was thinking more than like if you're allergic to something or if you're going to bring cats with you or if you're left-handed and you insist on doing everything that way, or if you're going to shoot 9mm and you're going to have, you like certain things you intentionally or your life brings with you. That's what I meant before. Like first incorporate that. Like if you're on a medication, like bring it. But in this case, yeah, I was thinking more like past experience. And the reason I was bringing that up is because I'll also do that with, that's how I differentiate what I don't bring. So there's things like that I'll bring like a tourniquet. Well, I haven't had like an arterial hemorrhage yet, but I might. So I'll bring a tourniquet. But something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that I almost never bring, which is basically little tiny Band-Aids. Because either if I'm with someone who has kids, they've already got a kid's first aid kit, or I'm never with kids. So that's the, I'm 50 and that's my life. So I don't have little baby first aid kit or little baby Band-Aid things for like babies. Like I don't carry regular Band-Aids. I've never used one in my life except for when I was a little baby. So, I'll take a piece of duct tape on me if I really need to stop something from getting infected. Or you know what I mean? Like I just never do that. So there's things that I won't bring in a first aid kit based on I've never needed them in my whole life. So I guess my first aid kits at this point, especially for like a hiking kit, is mostly going to be foot treatment, right? And then like maybe something like a powdered Gatorade where like, oh, I didn't realize it, but it really kicked the crap out of me today. I'm going to drink some Gatorade water and not just water, or, something like that. Or like a caffeine. Have you seen the caffeine squirts? You can get these like squirts that you put into a drink and they turn like a regular bottle of drink into like a regular bottle of water into a drink by just squirting in a little bit of stuff, but it'll have caffeine in it and something like that. Like, oh, maybe just because whatever, if I'm feeling it, I'll just drink some caffeine to be able to get back up the hill or down the hill. So anyway, I would think of like tweaking a kit to be like that, like what you're actually going to need hiking as opposed to like a chest seal or I don't know. For me, like I say, too many little fiddly things. I just don't like opening up a first aid kit and having all the little Band-Aids fall out and then they have to pick them up, and I'd rather not even just have them anywhere near me. And then
Yeah.
I'm never picking up a first aid kit to be like, let me get that, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something else I don't bring, like iodine. Let me get my iodine for you because I don't bring it. So, like, I don't have to worry about opening it. Like, I'm only opening my kit pretty much if somebody's bleeding out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chris,
So like I've been back and forth on that. So like in my range bag, this was something I meant to drop a plug earlier because I'm really happy with the product. But in my range bag, a dark chemical bag. In case someone. Oh.
yeah, you're glitching. You said Dark Angel Medical. What's happening? Sea melting? Is anybody else seeing this happen? That was super cool. Do that again if you can. Or maybe it's happening on my end.
Okay, well that didn't work. I tried to answer the phone while in here.
Oh, is that what happened? It kind of got weird. Like I don't know. It was like a weird special effect. It was really cool.
So, anyways, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm back. I guess. Yeah, I know the audio went out. I tried to.
Yep, you're back.
Answer the phone. So, anyways, I guess she'll call back, or she's mad at me, and now I'm in trouble. So I might be using the bug out bag to sleep on the street tonight. Anyway, I was talking about the medical stuff because I have a Dark Angel Medical, and that has like the tourniquets and the oh shit, someone has a hole in them type medical kit. And that I'm not opening up to get a Band-Aid because I cut myself hiking or whatever. So that I feel is that's definitely more of a trauma kit versus a first aid kit. And that's where I'm going to disagree with you with is I like having Band-Aids, although I also do wrap stuff in duct tape and whatever. I like to squirt a little Neosporin on it, wrap a Band-Aid on it, and then wrap duct tape around it because that way the duct tape doesn't stick to the stuff. So basically, I use the Band-Aid as just a nice little bandage, like a yeah. I use a Band-Aid as a bandage. Wow, that's very insightful. I'm a genius.
I don't know if you're covering the mic. It's kind of like losing volume or something.
But anyway, so that's why I kind of like having that stuff. And like you said, with hiking, you want to do foot stuff. And it's a lot easier to put a little Band-Aid on your heel when you're getting a blister than to rip a piece of duct tape off or whatever and try and make a cushion.
Well, especially when they're designed for that. Like there's ones that are made out of moleskin and have the tape in the right place so that it doesn't fight your shoe. It's working with your body or whatever. So there's certain things that
Now I'm not hearing G-Webs. I don't know if that's my fault.
Oh, I'm gonna refresh because it could be me.
Okay, let's try again. Can everyone hear everyone else?
Okay. I don't know. I restarted because maybe it was me. Can you hear me now? No. Okay. I don't hear something. Seems muted to me though. Looks like he's muted.
All right, I don't know if that's my audio messing up or you, but I didn't hear you, G-Webs. I'm not even sure if anyone can hear me, to be honest.
I can hear you. So if I unmute, you don't hear me? It makes my little ring happen, so it looks like I'm saying stuff.
All right, well, you know what? This thing's about a good time anyways. So sorry for the little technical difficulty near the end there. Like I said, I think maybe me getting a phone call messed everything up. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, and maybe we'll do a part 2. So all you people listening, you can leave suggestions and comments because this was supposed to be a brainstorming, like thinking out loud kind of chat. And I appreciate G-Webs for all of your insight. You definitely gave me some stuff to think about. And I have a little list going of stuff I'm going to buy or stuff I need to find so I can put it in that pack. Well, okay, DJ, you're saying you hear G-Webs fine. I can't hear him at all. So it makes it real hard for me to talk to him if I can't hear him at all. And I think it's my headset is messed up. So anyways, because I don't want to talk over him and I can't hear him at all, I am just going to go ahead and shut it down. So we will do a part 2 on a further date. So put your comments and suggestions in there, and maybe some of you guys will also join in, so it's not just the two of us talking. And then if my audio messes up, you guys can talk to each other. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you later.